Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, and today we're here with Ankit Bhatia. If hopefully I said that correctly, he's the CEO and co-founder of Sapien, and it is just a really cool social media network. It's one of the many that I've been on for a while, so we're gonna dive into that and what it's all about, and where they're sort of headed for the rest of the year and going forward. But just before we jump into that, do you want to just give a small introduction about yourself?
Sure, Scott. Thanks for having me. So, yeah, my name is Ankit Bhatia. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sapien, leading Ethereum-based social network. Our vision is to build a decentralized, community-driven platform that rewards creators and puts users back in control of their privacy. At Sapien, we're humans first, as I like to say. And yeah, a little bit of background about myself. I graduated from Cal 2016, computer science background. And since then, we've also been building Sapien. And a little bit more about myself. I've sort of been in this space for the past 5, 7 years, been seeing what's been going on, ton of speculation, ton of crazy things that happen in blockchain. But we try to really focus on the value props of putting things on chain, and that's kind of what Sapien's doing. So yeah, it's a little about myself.
Awesome, awesome. So, how did sapien get its name? I guess I'm assuming it's like Homo sapien, but I mean, feel free
Mhm.
to elaborate.
Yeah, so when we first started Sapien, we're thinking about a good name, and thing with names is like you're always looking for something that's memorable. And one thing when we were building Sapien, we felt like we wanted to build a platform that was inclusive, that didn't really leave anyone out, that anyone could have access to. So when we first gave it the name Sapien, it was all about how can we include everyone and make sure that the platform is as diverse as possible. And we thought, what better name than to actually name it after our species, which, or I guess, yeah, species, the sapien. And that was just the name we rolled with. And it kind of ties into what we're trying to do, which is basically treat users less like products and more like humans, which is the way they should be treated. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And just a little bit more about yourself before we really dive into the meat of this. When did you originally get into crypto, and what was that like?
yeah, so this was an interesting story. This was my freshman year in college. I was dorming at Foothill, which is this dorm where most of the engineers at Cal usually reside. So either you're off playing League of Legends or you're working on some cool side projects. So I was the latter, and we were just sitting there in our dorm room in the common room. A couple of my buddies and I were just talking about the state of privacy, where social networks are going, and this was actually like a reoccurring discussion for us. We felt really, really frustrated with the way that the social media establishment, the Facebooks, the Twitters, how they were basically structured in a way to extract maximum value from users. And we felt like you could do better if you really flipped the incentives and put users first. So we sat down. At that time we were one of my friends. We were actually talking about the dark web. He actually logged in and he showed some websites that were accessible through Tor, this Onion router browser. And he visited a site, and I didn't know what it was at the time, but I saw the Bitcoin logo, and to me, I was like, "Huh, what is that? That's pretty crazy. This BTC thing." And we were talking about how it could be this completely decentralized cryptocurrency, not supported by any intermediary. And I since then sort of just been going deeper and deeper and just understanding the technology and how it can be used to build better and better products for people. So.
Awesome, awesome. And when was that? Like, what year was that?
So that was 2016 when I first got exposure to that, and then it wasn't until 2017 when we really learned about Ethereum and how we can build entire decentralized dapps on the platform that do we really dive in and say, hey, like this is the way that we can build Sapien to be the best sort of user-centric platform. Because when we actually first started building Sapien, it was more of an end-to-end encrypted platform. We actually, we're so for free speech and censorship. We thought, or anti-censorship. We thought, hey, let's just encrypt everything, post messages, all of that, so that even the company couldn't have access to that data. So we actually built that, myself and my co-founder Rob, and it turned out that's incredibly difficult to scale, and you don't have the right incentives. So you end up releasing something in this world that can do more harm than good. So that's when we started looking at the blockchain for transparency and using that as a sort of fundamental building block for the platform. So.
Okay. Awesome. And so for people who are very, very new to crypto and everything, can you just give a very brief introduction of what Sapien's kind of all about?
Yeah, so at Sapien, as I mentioned, we are building a community-driven platform. So there's a concept of tribes on Sapien, which are most analogous to subreddits. So everyone has their favorite subreddits that they like to visit to, and we want to keep that sort of core functionality on Sapien as well. So it's not like there's a top-down platform that's dictating what content you should see and how your feed should be structured, but everything sort of emerges at the community level. And that's what our sort of vision is with tribes, that they sort of function as these independent social platforms that can like interact with each other and also have their own inner tribe governance. And that's, there's always this debate about what is decentralization. And for us, it starts at the structure of the social network itself. So tribes are these units where people can come together around similar interests or objectives and find a way to collaborate and create value and recognize the value that different tribe members are creating. And that's sort of our driving vision with Sapien.
Awesome. And so what problem do you guys set out to solve for with Sapien?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, since we've started, it's always been about the same thing, right? From a high level, like we all know that social is broken, right? We know that the advertising model is not going to work because people are tired of having their data mined. They're tired of being manipulated online. We know that these platforms are not out to serve the user. They're out to serve their bottom lines. It's all about collecting more data or keeping users on a platform longer. So we've thought like this is just a terrible sort of future that we don't want to live in. And what can we do to actually reconstruct the incentives so that us as a platform, where our sort of business model hinges on the value that users are sort of generating and sharing within their, among themselves. So it's not necessarily like, us versus the users, but our sort of business model would be tied in directly. So if the users aren't getting any value from the platform, neither are we as a company. So we think this approach is just far more sustainable. It aligns incentives. Our platform will grow with our user base and the value that's being generated there, instead of this just complete sort of misalignment of interest where, the corporation is always serving the advertisers and shareholders at whatever costs the users. And we've seen this, right? We've seen the addictive technologies that have been built out, this sort of world-class surveillance system, ability to track location activities, create all sorts of recommendation engines that have caused a lot of serious problems, right? We're going deeper into echo chambers. We're going deeper into getting siloed, and it's largely, at least in America, it's caused a lot of the polarization that we're seeing, between the right, left, and so many other groups. There isn't any consensus on what is true anymore, right? Everything is just up for grabs. It's your facts versus my facts, and we think to a large part it's these centralized social platforms that have been driving their own agendas that have created such a system and are taking no accountability for it. So we're trying to change that at Sapien. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how have you guys been affected by, the lockdown and everything going on? Has that impacted Sapien's development at all? Feel free to explain.
Yeah, no, it's really cool because since our inception, we've always been a distributed team. So when we actually did our token sale in early 2018, it was 4 of us. And aside from my co-founder and I, none of us had ever met. So we were able to actually do a very successful raise, just entirely remote. And that's always been the sort of like culture of the company. And since the raise, we grew to 20 people, and now we're 30 people at Sapien. We've all just been distributed, right? So, with COVID, we used to have an office in New York, but we actually had to shut that down. It just didn't make sense to force people into the same office room. And now we're just back to a distributed model. So we have people in Mexico, Spain, in Germany, in Philippines, Jordan, Bangladesh, and of course US. So really spread out.
Wow.
One thing I'm really proud about is how diverse our team is and how we've sort of overcome the hurdles of COVID and the crypto market slump and all that stuff. It just doesn't affect us. Like we're focused on building Sapien. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it's like really true to the values of Sapien. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So how, oh no, we already covered that one. What are some of the next big updates coming for Sapien in the near future and then over maybe like the next year?
Yeah, so for Sapien, what we recently just launched were our native iOS and Android apps in beta. So that's something I'm really proud about because we're one of the first Ethereum-based networks to launch that. And this isn't just React Native, some hybrid build. Like this is native iOS and Android. So definitely after this call, Scott, I'll shoot you out an invite, and others that are interested, definitely sign up for
Awesome.
the beta. We also have a referral program that's going on right now. We have a community Discord. We're extremely active there. But for us right now, some of our immediate focus is actually a little bit of re-engineering for scale. So, when we were moving fast, getting things up, it was all about, getting features out. But now it's really about sitting back and making sure that everything we do, it serves a purpose. We're not going for this feature parity game that some of our competitors are going for, where it's like copy every single feature, but it's about the features that we do introduce. Like they need to be expressively valuable and relate to some sort of value prop of tokenization or of blockchain. So that's sort of our midterm focus, and then long term is really going to be more. That's when the fun starts around governance and making sure that as we sort of build out the platform, it's democratized in its nature, that we can align incentives of team members, of users, of investors, and we make sure we sort of grow out in that way and don't turn into another one of the typical social network sites.
Yeah. It's funny that you mention a lot of your like competitors in the blockchain space are kind of just in a race to come out with as many features as possible. Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, some are doing it, well, and others are doing it not so well. So yeah, I think it is definitely important to just be focused on the most important things rather than uh, rushing to try to keep up with either legacy platforms or just other platforms in the same space that are trying to also keep up with legacy platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel that Sapien fits in with other social dapps? And you said that you guys are the leading Ethereum dapp. So I'm curious, is it based on like your transactions or how are you measuring that? Because I know there is like Mines, for example, mines.com,
Mm-hmm.
but none of their content is on the blockchain. So I just like to hear the difference for Sapien versus like Mines, for example, and
Mm-hmm.
like how integrated with the blockchain are you guys? And yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way that I look at it is the user experience that we're trying to create at Sapien is far above some of our competitors, right? What we're trying to do is make sure, one of our core philosophies really is to keep the blockchain magic in the background entirely, right? We aren't necessarily just trying to create a crypto only platform, but obviously that's easier said than done, right? But we've actually taken the steps, we've made the right partnerships, and I can speak to some of those as well. The Matic, Biconomy, Taurus, some of these very interesting projects that are trying to abstract away some of the complexities. So for us, comparing, why we say that we're leading is a combination of a few things. UX is one of them. Our increased sort of token sophistication is also important to recognize. It's not just about a simplistic token model that rewards people. I think if you go that path, you're not going to be building anything sustainable. Rather, you want to plant your token economy on something that is robust and represents hard value, instead of some concept where people do some arbitrary action and then they get some token rewards for that. So if you go down that path, and we actually try that with one of our iterations of our reward engine. Right now we're on the third iteration. So if you go down this path where, if you make a post or a comment and you get some tokens for that proportional, then that is problematic, right? It's easily gamed. And again, there's no sort of underlying hard value that you're reflecting in the token economy. So our approach with Sapien is making sure that that hard value is being reflected whenever there's a sort of value transfer, which we call charges on Sapien, and not just this nebulous concept of, oh, this person has left a comment and therefore it's somehow valuable to the network. So I think we're taking different approaches with this to some of our competitors in that respect. So.
Yeah, because you are right in the fact that the other two major Ethereum networks that I'm aware of, like Minds and Uptrend, they're definitely dealing with a lot of like comment spam and trying to figure out how to deal with all that. Minds has changed their token value so many times to try to deal with this, and yeah, I definitely think that that causes a lot of problems in the long run. So where do you see Sapien going over the next year, in the next 5 years, like in an ideal sense, if everything starts to clear up? Hopefully, we'll just talk in the most ideal sense, because obviously it's very hard to look that far ahead in the crypto world.
Yeah, so I mean, again, everything about us is about our tribes, right? It's less about Sapien as a platform, but it's really about the fantastic tribes that we can bring on board, right? And already we have such great interest from a really sort of diverse set. We have the crypto projects that are interested to build on Sapien, their communities, and they don't want to build a Facebook group anymore, right? Like let's move on. Let's go to Web3. Let's go build and be there and participate in Web3. So I personally think that one of my focuses, and I'm actually talking to tribes myself and making sure that we can onboard them to Sapien. We have this great women's empowerment tribe that recently joined Sapien, and they're growing their community. Just yesterday, I was talking with this podcast that is focused on car enthusiasts, and they want to build their tribe on Sapien. So to me, it's not about attracting every single crypto project. I mean, already it's so polarized. You're not even going to find people already have their loyalties to their blockchains. But for me, it's about reaching out to the average user and seeing, hey, what are the features you want, and how can Sapien serve you there? And then everything comes down to tribes, right? How can we make tribes more and more powerful with the governance tools that they have, the ability to moderate their own content, the ability to make decisions at scale, and then scale the whole network based on this sort of network of tribes that we're calling Sapien, coincidentally. There isn't any Sapien. I mean, there's a Sapien platform, but everything starts and ends at the tribe. So
awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So you mentioned some of the partnerships earlier. Do you want to sort of dive into some of those?
Yeah, sure. So one of them recently released their mainnet Matic network layer 2 blockchain solution. They're a plasma-based proof of stake chain backed by Binance, Coinbase. Really, really incredible team. They've been consistently hitting their deadlines, and big fan of their work and just how they're sort of handling the growth of their chain. So many projects have been migrating over to Matic. There used to be Loom. I mean, I don't know if you remember that, but Loom was big. There were obviously DPoS, and the people that were concerned that DPoS would turn into an oligarchy of sorts. They ended up being right. We're seeing that with what happened with Loom, with some of the validators dropping. EOS, I'm still skeptical about personally. But what we wanted with the blockchain project is something that would be tightly integrated with Ethereum. So Matic is a EVM-based chain that allows us to scale our transactions on Sapien right into within our network. So I'm really, really happy to share more about them. They recently launched their mainnet, and we want to really scale with them. And I don't think we'll hit any bottlenecks with Ethereum if we move things there. Because one thing we realize is users don't want to pay exorbitant fees for transactions. That's not really gonna work for the average user, right? For the crypto people,
Yeah.
yeah, we know we can have some ether in our MetaMask, and all is good because we understand that this is part of decentralization. It's I'm responsible for the costs to the network essentially. But I think for the mainstream user, they need chains like Matic to build on, and that's why they're one of our partners. Another one would be Biconomy. They're doing some really interesting stuff with relayers to create gasless experiences on Ethereum. So this is again part of our sort of quest to build a platform that serves the average user. And they're not sitting there computing gas costs and thinking about, hey, like, where do I get ether from? Oh, I need to put in my, debit card. Like that stuff is already going to be such a barrier to entry that we just want to, abstract that away if possible. So they're doing some great work. Our partners at Kyber, of course, I think they're making a tremendous infrastructure for DeFi, for like a system of smart contracts that really work, that do provide liquidity to tokens. And they have a very sort of sophisticated system that I'm, really happy. We have the Kyber integrated right into our platform. So anyone wants to make swaps on Ethereum with SPN or ETH, they can get in and out of our token economy quite easily. So big fan of what they're doing. And then just some other partnerships with like One World Online. These guys are doing tokenized polls that integrate with existing ad networks. So, people see an ad, they get rewarded with tokens. That's sort of their value add there. But yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because I've seen some other Ethereum dApps where you had to basically pay for anything that you did, even something really simple like I wanted to switch my profile from light mode to dark mode, and it was like estimated $1. And I was like, wow, I have to pay $1 to switch my settings. I don't
Yeah.
think that anyone is going to use this. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really, really big, a huge roadblock for like regular people. And even someone in crypto, I would never pay $1 to switch my settings. So I definitely think that that's like really, really important to have that focus, especially for Ethereum dApps when I see like a lot of dApps that are doing that. And I mean, they're not really going very far. So yeah, I think that's really, really important. A fun question. If you could have any crypto influencer come and join Sapien, who would you like to have on there?
I think Balaji Srinivasan. I think he'd be cool
Okay.
to add to Sapien. I've been a big fan of a lot of the tweets he's been putting out, and it's funny because he's saying a lot of these things, and it's funny. It's funny because we're actually building them, and there's a lot of alignment of interest there. And it'd be cool to have him. Cool to have you, Scott. I think afterwards.
Hey, I am
Yeah.
on. I am on. But yeah, no, I'll definitely get on the beta there for the for Android. I think that'll be really, really interesting to check out. So yeah, that's everything from my end. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we end this off?
Um, no, I think I hope I've given everyone a sense of what we're building at Sapien. It's something that isn't just here for a couple of days. It's something we've been working on since 2016, and it's I really think it's the future. I think it's all about users having a real voice in migrating to networks and supporting networks that they resonate with. And at Sapien, it's all about making sure that we're accountable to our own values even. So if you like us, please check us out at sapien.network, sign up, support us, and we're just getting started. So
Awesome, awesome. I was just gonna say where can they find you, but you nailed that. So yeah, everyone go and check out Sapien, follow them on social, join all their communities, and let us know in the comments below what you think about it. And yeah, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. I'm sure anyone who hasn't heard of Sapien yet in my audience I recommend they go and check it out and kind of get their feet wet there. So again, thank you so much for coming on.
appreciate it, Scott.
Thanks for watching this video to the very end. Since you did, make sure to give it a like and comment hashtag #1ham in the comments below, so that way I know that you watched the whole video. Also, please subscribe to this channel and feel free to follow me anywhere under @ScottC Business. I'm basically on every platform. You can also share this with someone else who might gain value from it, and that would be very helpful and impactful to helping my channel grow as well. If you'd like to support me more directly, you can also donate to scottcbusiness.eth or scottcbusiness.crypto listed below. Thank you so much for your support and for watching this video. I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scott C Business, signing off. Cheers.